Yo, book nerds, if you are new here, you may not know that my favorite playwright is Tom Stoppard, and The Invention of Love is my favorite play by him. Now, I've said it before and I'll say it again, I probably will never get to see this play performed, and that breaks my heart. It is rarely ever performed, and the reason it is barely ever performed is because there is a lot of literary references in this play. There are so many. And when I was in undergrad, I took a class that was dedicated to this play. And we read a bunch of literary works and then ended with reading this play. And so if you ever hear of this play being performed, I would love to know where it is, because I don't think I'll ever find it. But I wanted to come on here and share with you some of the literary works that you should read if you are interested in reading this play, or if you do ever see it being performed somewhere, the background knowledge that you should have going into the play. I was in undergrad like 10 years ago, guys. Like, I took this class like literally 10 years ago. So I don't remember exactly everything that we read. So I'm going off of memory. So this is not going to be a perfect list, but it's better than nothing, right? So what is this play even about? This play is about A.E. Housman, who is my favorite poet. He was a real person, but in the play he has passed away, and he is floating down the river Styx with Charon, the boatman from Greek mythology. So he is floating down the river Styx, and he encounters his past self and has conversations with him. And he eventually also meets up with Oscar Wilde and has conversations with Oscar Wilde, another one of my favorite writers. So this play is just very interesting, and it all revolves around this idea of love. And A.E. Housman, the main character, who is a real person, he was a gay man, an atheist gay man, living at a time in London when everyone was religious. It was not okay to be atheist, and it was not okay to be gay. It was illegal. And so A.E. Housman, he was very reserved and quiet, and he kept to himself. Like, he didn't make a show of being gay because he didn't want to be arrested, right? I think it's interesting because this conversation that he eventually has with Oscar Wilde was arrested for being gay and went to prison. And so this is all real life. So they kind of have this conversation about, is it better to go to jail for your love and miss out on years of your life and have to do hard labor? That's what Oscar Wilde had to do, was hard labor. Or is it better to be free but not be able to love openly? Is it better to be in prison but love freely, or to be free but have your love imprisoned? It's such an interesting play and an interesting conversation, which is obviously fictionalized. The play is not real, but these two people were real, and what they went through was very real. And so all of that to say, because these are two writers that this play is about, there is a lot of literary references in this play. Some are just hinted at, and some are full-blown, you will not understand this section of the play at all if you don't know who these other people are or what these other works are talking about. That's why this is never performed, because not many people have read all the things necessary to understand this play to the full effect. And now again, I don't remember every single reference that is made. I don't remember every single literary work we read in that class because it was 10 years ago, right? It was quite a long list. We spent an entire semester on this. But going off of my memory, here's what I think you should read if you are interested in checking out this play in print form or being performed. Since it is about A.E. Housman, you should read his poetry. I used this book in class. It's A Shropshire Lad and Other Poems. You wouldn't necessarily need to read all of them. I did. I loved them all. But I would for sure read A Shropshire Lad poems because there's a collection of them that are about the Shropshire Lad. And I would read The Laws of God and the Laws of Man. What other ones? Let me see. I would read The Oracles. Many of his poems are super small. I would read Hellgate. That one's a longer one though, but most of his poems are really short. So like it wouldn't take you that long to read his poems, but I really would make sure you have his poetry under your belt because this is about him. And in his poetry, he talks a lot about love, and it's usually referring to a man and a woman because again, he didn't want to be arrested. But if you know the undertones, like you know what he's really trying to say. And especially in the poem The Laws of God, the Laws of Man, he really goes after like, why do I have to follow these rules that other people have created for me when I don't agree with them? And I love that poem. So check out his poems for sure. I don't have a copy of it, but you should also read poems by Catullus. We read quite a few of Catullus' poetry, and so you should definitely read a lot of his works. You should also read Three Men in a Boat by Jerome K. Jerome. And I also have Three Men on the Bummel in this edition. You wouldn't necessarily have to read that one, but for sure read Three Men in a Boat by Jerome K. Jerome because there's a very obvious reference to that story in the play. And because the other huge character in this play is Oscar Wilde, you should read Oscar Wilde. You should read lots of his works. For class, we didn't read The Picture of Dorian Gray, but I think you should. It'd be nice to have that background. But you should definitely read some of his plays and essays. So this was the book we had used for class. And let me look at the contents here. So I would definitely read The Critic as Artist. I think you should read The Picture of Dorian Gray, though we didn't for my class, but I think you should. I'm pretty positive we read Salome. We definitely read The Importance of Being Earnest. I think we read De Profundis, not positive. But then I would make sure to get some of his poems under your belt because A.E. Housman and he are both poets, so you'll want to have some of their poems under your belt. I was just skimming De Profundis and yes, we definitely read that for that class. So I would read De Profundis also because it talks kind of about his imprisonment. So this is the portable Oscar Wilde. This would give you some great background for Oscar Wilde for this play. That's all I remember specifically from the class, but because you know the play takes place in the underworld, the Greek underworld with Chiron on the River Styx, I definitely think you should have some Greek mythology background. I remember them having conversations about Achilles, and so maybe reading the Iliad would be a good background to have, or reading some other kind of Greek or Roman mythology, just so that you have some of the backstory and you know what the underworld is like and you know who Achilles is and you know what's going on, I guess, what they're talking about and where their setting is because they're in the underworld, right? That is how I would go about preparing to read or preparing to see this play performed. I think The Invention of Love is a beautiful play, a beautiful commentary on love and what love means in a lifetime and what it's worth. And I wish this play were performed. I would love to see it someday, but I just think if I can get more people to read it, then maybe that would happen sometime. So if you feel like a challenge, I definitely recommend reading through these materials and then trying to tackle The Invention of Love. Honestly, like, the reason this is my favorite is because Tom Stoppard is just showing off when he's writing. Like, he is so good, and his allusions to so many different works of literature is just, it blows my mind, and I'm a nerd for this kind of thing. The literature behind the literature, like, I eat it up. I am such a nerd for it, and he is a master. And so again, my list is not exhaustive. I'm sure I've forgotten things, but I think that this is so worth the effort. And it's a short play. It's really a short play, and you have so much that you need to read leading up to it, but it's so worth it. If you've read The Invention of Love, or if you've somehow been able to see it performed, like, I'd love to talk with you in the comments. If you know of other works of literature that I have forgotten about, please add them in the comments, and I would love to help more people to read The Invention of Love. It's a masterpiece. That is all that I have for you today. I will talk to you next Monday. I hope you have a lovely week. Hit that like button and subscribe. Thanks for talking books with me.